Welcome to this edition of Inside the Academy Studio.
Today's conversation will be about Michel Hazanavicius' The Artist. The Artist is the story of a time period in American cinema. It's about the movies, the transition from silent film to talkies. We joined the film in 1927 when George Valentine is one of the biggest stars in the world, but he's a silent film star. And at the same time, we meet Peppy Miller, an unknown, who takes a coincidental picture with George Valentine, and then makes her way into the movies. And when movies do transition to talkies,
Yes.
she adapts to it and becomes one of the bigger stars, and George Valentine becomes irrelevant. And we see his downward spiral and her enduring connection to him all the way till 1932 when they finally, resolve all their issues and find a medium where both of them can succeed in the musical. The Artist is a French film which is primarily black and white, and more importantly, primarily without any dialogue. One of the first such in many years. I think actually Mel Brooks may be the last one to do a mainstream film, a silent movie.
Which was a parody of a silent movie.
Right. Right.
Called Silent Movie.
Exactly. With no dialogue. So I think, to my co-host first, is it a crossover point for black and white films or films with no dialogues? Do you think that this will inspire, The Artist will inspire further films like this?
As much as The Artist does succeed, and as you see with the critical acclaim, I think it will inspire a different type of film altogether. It'll probably inspire. So Artist is the way Artist is made as a silent black and white movie because that's what suits the film's plot. So I think what you're going to see more movies being made in a more experimental style, as Artist is considered, to suit the film's plot. Like even just little things like the aspect ratio, the Academy ratio.
Right. That was 1.33 to 1.
Yeah.
Which Hazanavicius said is basically the best you can get for an actor because an actor really dominates the screen. They are bigger than life in that aspect.
Yeah.
I think you're correct. I don't think this movie was a technical advancement in black and white film or a no dialogue film. Black and white film, there's been samplings of it in the past. I think the last one that got nominated was Good Night and Good Luck. To its core, The Artist is still a love story that takes place in a time where you can use this black and white format and the no dialogue thing to its advantage. So it's a way of storytelling a traditional love story with this, little twist because it's time appropriate. As much as we talk about having no dialogue, I think we should go right into the ending of the film where they take, first, there's no music at all. There's no background score. When Peppy Miller, played by Bernice Bejo, born an Argentinian but a French actress now, who's actually married to the director, Michel Hazanavicius, and George Valentine, played by Jean Dujardin, both of them nominated. When they come together again in George's burnt down apartment.
It's kind of like a house, but
a house, apartment, yeah.
I don't think people who watch the movie really were thinking about
right,
that.
So there's a big focus of putting no background score to that part, and then it goes right to when they say, I think there's something that both of us can do, into the musical number, and that's where we had our first moments of dialogue, and we find out maybe the barriers that kept George out of the talkies was that he has a heavy French accent. And when I watched that, I recalled maybe he was trying to mirror the experiences of a Greta Garbo or Marlene Dietrich, both. I think Marlene Dietrich's German, Greta Garbo, Eastern European, but they had heavy accents, but they were still able to transition before this from silent film to talkie films.
Yeah. They also said another thing, like even actors who were American born and had like didn't have an accent,
yeah,
though like they were immediately not like people who had stage experience at that point were preferred in movies after this point. When the tradition of talkies over silent film actors, and that's a problem that George Valentine faces in this movie.
right, right. But what do you think about Hazanavicius using dialogue at that scene? I think it worked effectively. I think it's
Most definitely, like it was also kind of romantic, like as it was in the Jazz Singer 1927.
yeah.
Like you,
You can say it's a callback to that when you ain't heard nothing yet, right?
yeah. Keep it limited to the point, and it gives a because at this point I think can't even pronounce his name, but the director.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, he did say his intention was to make a very fun movie, right?
Right.
And when you make a movie like this, where you see the characters at the end happy and content with the future of cinema,
Yeah.
it's the best way to do that was with speaking dialogue.
And Ms. Michelle Hazanavicius, the director, who was nominated for Best Director and getting a lot of buzz for his job, did a particularly good job of the challenges with making a black and white film and a film with no dialogue. And those are a lot of the intertitles, a lot of those captions that come up.
Yeah.
And he felt that one of his biggest challenges were to use them sparingly. You don't want to use it every other line, but still have the audience be able to understand the film. And maybe my co-host can talk to what if the job was well done.
Well, I think most of the acting was done through emotions, which was a completely different job for all the actors involved in this movie. Even an established actor like John Goodman,
right,
acting in a completely different format than he's used to.
Yeah.
In fact, during the first Academy Awards, 1927, did you know that there was a category for best screen titles?
There was.
Yes, that was the last time a silent movie won, and the only time a silent movie won, 1927, Wings.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
The tie-in now 84 years later.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the actors. A lot of noted American actors were playing more of the background characters. And British actors. John Goodman, James Cromwell, Missy Pyle, Penelope Ann Miller, who had much minor parts, but the French actors are the leads in this film, and let's talk about them. Jean Dujardin and Berenice Bejo, who form the team of George and Pepe. Unknown to North American audiences, Dujardin, I think, was able to maximize his performance because he has such an expressive face.
Yeah, most
he's got that chiseled look, but he has, the eyes, his eyes light up, and obviously Pepe Miller's character is known for that wink she gives fans, and that's vital for her expression. But she's also able to play those quieter moments, So I think it's a film that they both were able to maximize their features, because a lot of silent film, whether it been Douglas Fairbanks, Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, they had to rely on a lot of their body, being in control of their body, and I felt that both Dujardin and Bejo were in control of their body.
Yeah, most definitely. You couldn't even say Desjardins did some of his acting through his length of his mustache throughout this movie.
And that was effective. I think we have to make note as another person who was very much in charge of their body was
yes.
George's dog.
Can't believe you haven't mentioned it till now.
The scene stealer in the film, the sidekick, the lifesaver. One of the better, I don't know if I want to say maybe the most important animal since Babe in a film.
Yeah, okay.
Other than animated films.
You definitely made the claim, but
one of the better live action performances by an animal maybe in 10-15 years.
Yes.
Right.
That's another inside the Academy studio.
Exactly.
It's hypothetical.
When you have no dialogue, you notice the importance of sound and score. And this score has taken some criticism for using a part of Bernard Herrmann's Vertigo love theme.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the challenge of scoring an entire film when the score is so predominantly featured that it's basically definitely harkens back to the time of Herman and, you know, when Robin Hood had such express scores like that. So the score is basically the centerpiece.
Yeah, like
There's little diegetic sound, but a lot of it's just non-diegetic off the screen scored.
yeah. So I think in a movie like this, I think there has to be a closer collaboration between the score and the movie. Like sometimes, not to say there's anything wrong with the method, but a lot of times the movie is shot first and then the score is added in later. It's like composed and added in later.
Yeah, this it was almost. I think the screenplay had to rely on score, and the score had to rely on the screenplay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost nearing this edition of Inside the Academy Studio. Like always, we like to end with questions. So I will ask, what was your favorite moment in The Artist?
My favorite moment of the artist would have to be, just that scene where the dog, played by Oogie, that's the name?
Oogie or Augie, yeah.
Yeah.
3 different dogs, but that's predominant dog, yeah.
That's the predominant dog.
Yeah.
Does call that police officer and does eventually save George Valentine from the fire. And I thought it was very effective that they did not use any music during that fire scene.
Yeah.
Like it was silent, but you could still feel it through the dog and through the emotions from everyone else.
My favorite moment would be when Pepe and George are dancing unknowingly behind the screen, where they can only see each other's feet, and they're having fun. The crew's having fun, and then when the screen is removed, that they notice that, oh, this is the girl that has her face in the cover because of me, and it's just a nice, sweet moment that establishes that these characters are going to have these kind of moments throughout the film. Least favorite moment?
I think my least favorite moment had to be the scenes with George Valentine and his wife. I think the wife character wasn't really fleshed out that much, so you couldn't really. You thought, okay, George Valentine is being arrogant. I think that at the beginning, that's the only sense you got out of that. Otherwise, it didn't really add much.
Those scenes reminded me of Citizen Kane, where the Orson Welles Hearst character always has breakfast with his wife or his fiance or his liaison, and those scenes were very similar. My least favorite scene was the scenes basically when his discovery of the artifacts and that Pepe Miller had been buying his things off auction to support him. I think at that point she had done so much that the character really should have not have reacted that way, and I think I know it's trying to create more tension between them, but I think at that time that that could have been maybe taken away.
Okay.
As we're nearing the end, we like to end with word association. So when you think The Artist, what word do you think?
Okay, that's supposed to be silence, but I'm gonna say talkie. Yeah.
Talkie?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I say tap. Tap as in tap dancing. So when we think of The Artist, we think of talkie and tap. That is this edition of Inside the Academy Studio.
Thank you.